2 weeks before our wedding, she whispered, "I'm still in love with my ex." I remained calm and responded softly, "Then leave, be with him." She believed I was bluffing, thinking it was a temporary outburst that would pass by dawn. But by daybreak, I had already terminated all the vendors and listed the house for sale. As she rekindled her past, I sealed off our future. The invitations were mailed. The seating arrangement was confirmed. My tuxedo was in the spare room, a somber symbol. We were on the balcony of our new home when she eventually admitted it. It wasn't emotional. It was deliberate. Sarah stared at me with a peculiar blend of remorse and resistance, confessing that her ex, Mark, had returned to the city. Seeing him once more, she admitted that she'd been opting for safety by being with me. For 3 years, I'd served as her pillar, the one standing by her side during job transitions and family hardships. However, my steadfastness had lost its allure in her eyes. She perceived that with only 14 days left before our wedding, I was ensnared by finances, pressure, and expectations. Consequently, I refrained from giving her the drama she seemed to crave. I didn't question what he possessed that I lacked, because as soon as those words escaped her lips, she no longer felt like someone I recognized. I calmly stood up, placed my drink on the table, and reminded her again, "Go be with him." The bewilderment on her face was almost unrealistic. She even asked if I was sincere, as though I'd negotiate for her affection. Instead, I entered our shared bedroom, gathered a small suitcase, and left our home, which I paid for, leaving her in stunned silence. That evening, as she likely exchanged triumphant messages with Mark, I found myself in my car executing phone calls that would mark the end of our shared existence. I had invested too much into building my life to let it serve as a backup option for someone else. By 4 a.m., I was discussing house sale details with a real estate agent, demanding the property be sold by week's end without considering any potential profits. My sole concern was achieving a clean break. Subsequently, I contacted the caterer, florist, photographer, and venue, canceling the wedding, forfeiting deposits, and leaving no unresolved issues. Next, I contacted my parents, revealing the truth, and switched off my phone. Over the past year, I had taken on most of the wedding planning while Sarah was finding herself. It appeared that when one holds the reins, pulling the plug proves surprisingly effortless. She believed she held the power. However, she was about to discover a valuable lesson. The instant you inform someone they are your alternative choice, you lose your position in their life. Drove towards my brother's woodland cabin, leaving city lights and her memory behind. A burden eased from me, unbeknownst before. Betrayal hurt, but freedom struck even deeper. Sarah had stealthily rekindled with her ex, thinking I was too predictable to ever leave. Assumed I'd always be there, a safety net lurking in the shadows. Deceit. As dawn illuminated the trees, I knew when she returned she wouldn't find me. Instead, she'd discover altered locks, empty spaces, and a for sale sign marking where her future once stood. For the first time in years, silence felt serene. The turmoil I initiated was merely the prelude to its arrival. In the ensuing days, I maintained a self-imposed quiet, detaching from the online world as Sarah grappled with my departure. Goodbye. On Wednesday, I momentarily activated my phone to observe the situation I anticipated. My friend's puzzled messages, accumulated calls unanswered, and a flurry of anxious, almost panic-stricken voicemails from Sarah awaited me. It seemed she had come home from staying with Mark, hoping to find me brooding on the couch. Instead, she encountered an unexpected scenario. A team of professional movers were methodically emptying out everything I'd paid for. They followed detailed instructions. Only items Sarah brought into our relationship were to remain untouched. As it transpired, this wasn't much. One voicemail was particularly striking. Sarah's voice trembled with shock as she grasped the house was already being displayed to prospective buyers. She thought being engaged entitled her to an implicit stake in the property. However, she overlooked a fundamental truth. I had bought that house with my own earnings, and the deed had always been in my name solely. In her mind, my phrase, "go be with him," was merely dramatic sentiment. She never grasped the gravity. It was a definitive choice. Now, for the first time in years, Sarah encountered an unanticipated reality. She found herself without a home and with the man she had opted for me over, Mark, known for instability. A studio apartment, temporary jobs, always moving on. All of a sudden, the comfort and security she once disregarded were what she yearned for. But that path was closed off, shuttered, and the key was no longer available. Through my brother, I learned about the social backlash being equally intense, because I had sent out cancellation notices to vendors and family simultaneously. What she believed was a personal confession gradually materialized into public reality. Her parents, who had always regarded me as family, were said to be shocked, disheartened, and unwilling to endorse her new journey. In a matter of days, Sarah found herself isolated in a social desert, returning wedding gifts. Silence from friends, a sense of exclusion from wedding guest lists. Years of potential security gambled away for a fleeting moment of nostalgia, resulting in an absolute mess. By Friday, the house had been sold to a cash buyer under contract. The digital paperwork was signed from the tranquil porch of the cabin as the sun set behind the trees. My hands were steady, my mind clear. That evening, Sarah called again. A new number, a different tone. Her voice sounded smaller, fragile. She pleaded with me to be reasonable, inquired about my whereabouts, claimed she hadn't truly meant what she said earlier, it was just pre-wedding anxiety. For a moment, I responded. My voice was calm, flat. I made it clear that I had given her exactly what she wanted, freedom, freedom to be with Mark, without me as part of the equation. And I emphasized that my stability was no longer available as her safety net. The call ended then. Because occasionally the individual deemed secure by many is equally adept at safeguarding their own future. When the woman I adored decided to leave my life, selling that house felt like slamming shut a massive vault door. 2 weeks after what should have been our wedding day, I wasn't at an altar. Instead, I was on a tranquil beach in another time zone. At home, the rumors had already subsided. People adapt and tales wane. However, that day served as a harsh awakening for Sarah. This is because Mark, her past's enigmatic specter, was living up to his true nature. Mark always reveled in the thrill of pursuit, but lacked the substance to manage what followed. As the allure of the forbidden dwindled, real life reared its head, bringing bills, obligations, and the mundane struggle of finding a place to live into focus. Over time, the flame between them didn't merely dull, it transformed into something acrid. Sarah's parents ceased responding to her calls for financial aid, their intention implicit. They continued to hold respect for the man. Subsequently, Sarah found herself in a compact, windowless apartment situated at the outskirts of an industrial district through a mutual acquaintance. A striking disparity, it seemed like a memorial, a mute testament to unfulfilled dreams. The once radiant bride-to-be was now living with the lingering memory of him. It appeared that her belief in my bluff had established the boundaries of her revised, constricted life. In contrast, I embarked on a year-long journey across Europe and Asia, utilizing funds from the house sale to accrue personal experiences. This was when I grasped a crucial truth. My steadfastness was not a flaw, it was the fortitude that enabled me to depart. During this time, I encountered individuals who sought neither a safety net nor a savior. I reveled in the companionship of a man who valued himself genuinely. Impulsively, I leaped into another relationship, as it was the first time in years that I was reconnoitering myself anew. The person who previously accepted half-baked affection disappeared. In his stead emerged someone who demanded unwavering truthfulness. Presently, I inhabit a contemporary loft with a panoramic view of a city devoid of Sarah or the wedding that never materialized. My business expands. My heart feels less burdened, and the tranquility in my home no longer echoes emptiness. It resonates peacefully. Occasionally, I encounter an image of her online. She appears transformed, now older, weary, quieter. The sparkle in her eyes has been supplanted by something more subdued. For a fleeting instant, I experience a pang of empathy. Then I continue scrolling, for I am no longer the individual who accepted runner-up positions. I am the person who mustered the courage to declare, "Go find him." Sarah believed she was selecting ardor, but in essence, she bartered long-term stability for a brief tutorial on consequences. As I witnessed the sun dip below my novel metropolis, one fact became undeniably apparent. The wisest choice I ever made was rejecting a supporting role in my existence. Now, I stand as the designer of a future established on firm foundations. If you're tuning in, I'm keen to learn where you're viewing from. Feel free to share in the comments below. And if you appreciate this narrative, remember to click subscribe, as an overwhelming number of viewers have yet to join the channel. Prepare yourself for our next tale about a stunning act of infidelity that drastically altered a marriage. Believe me, it gets gripping.